Hey you guys. Today, I have a spider on my hand, and I named her Bunny. She is my best spider pet I ever adopt. I would have adopted a pig for being a friend of my pet spider just like in the E.B. White's novel Charlotte's Web. Hey, I just said the movie we're going to review today. Now shall we see how the pig and the spider become friends and think of the excellent word for the pig, or will the spider die and the pig becomes nothing but bacon? Let's begin.
Itsy bitsy spider went up the water spout. Down came the rain and washed the spider out. Out came the sunshine and dried up all the rain. And itsy bitsy spider climbed up the spout again.
The story. Let's go how the story to bring this novel to life. When Wilbur, a pig adopted by young Fern, grows up, she sells it to her uncle who intends to slaughter it for food. Charlotte, a spider, vows to save the pig's life. The movie tells when a pig was being born, you can't keep it when's it grown up. The one thing I didn't like the scene where Charlotte gets sick and passed away just like old people. I imagine if the movie likers would bring this movie a 2 thumbs up, they would give the big thumbs up to the musical animated 1973 version. Behind the scenes. Let's see how the makers and the animals brought this novel to the big screen. So let's go have a look. In the opening sequence, the pictures of the novel version of the farm, trees, a pond and animals were animated in the digital computer. The makers of this movie decided which is better. The scene where Wilbur escapes, they used the live-action version of Wilbur when he gets knocked over by the wooden gate by trying to break it so he can go with Fern Arable. When Templeton enters his rat hole, the animators not only have to go underground, but also had to animate Templeton's rat hole from the inside, so they can get a better view from Templeton's home, and other side of Templeton's home. He drinks some milk in the bottle while laying down on his own comfy bed. The director wants to make Ike the horse fainted after Charlotte saves I drink their blood. So the creators have to push Ike down on the ground, so the movie has so much content and so much dramatic scenes. Charlotte wants Wilbur to live by making some words by building it by her web. For example, Charlotte made her web into the word called, some pig, then in the next night she made a new word for Wilbur called terrific. When Templeton was being chased by crows named Brooks and Owen while looking for some words, Templeton got rid of the crows by making a trap for them with some sand and pink sticky paint, and after the fair they got trapped in the net of the fun fair. The snow was filmed and make Wilbur the pig taste the snowflake on his piggy tongue. The snow never last long after he was being saved in the end. This was Nickelodeon's fourth movie to feature animals talking. The follow Nickelodeon movies that feature talking animals was the Wild Thornberry movie from 2002, Rugrats Go Wild from 2003 and Barnyard from 2006, the same year that Charlotte's Web was released. And the only animal characters were CGI animated as Charlotte, Templeton and the 3 spiders. The characters. Time to see who's building this web in the movie. Wilbur is a pig who Fern adopt was stuck in the barn and no one wants to play with Wilbur, but he made friends a spider named Charlotte who spoke to him last night before she had a chance to meet him, but he was afraid to be killed in the slaughterhouse by Christmas and has to be saved. Fern Arable is a beautiful and kind-hearted daughter of Nancy and John Arable and the little sister of Avery, who's 10 years old, while she's 8. She's fond of a boy named Henry Fussy. She's the former owner of the runt of the litter of 11 piglets whose mother had only 10 teats. She stops her own father, who was going to kill him because it couldn't get nourished and therefore, it would probably die anyway, from killing the piglet with an axe and offers to take care of him instead. She names the piglet Wilbur and takes care of him for 3 weeks before having to sell him for $7 to her uncle. However, she visits him in Homer Zuckerman's barn often and even stays with him at the fair. Charlotte Cavatica is a spider who is Wilbur's closet friend. Not like any other animals in the barn, she needs to save Wilbur before he gets caught into the slaughterhouse which people will eat him for Christmas. But when's he passing away? Wilbur tells Templeton to save the egg sac that Charlotte made so the baby spiders could hatch. She is voiced by Julia Roberts who also voiced Hova from the Ant Bully and Smurf Willow from Smurfs, The Lost Village. Templeton is one of the greediest rat in the barn. Despite all that, He usually threatens Wilbur by telling him that people need to eat him for Christmas. He usually calls himself the Rat, and his phrase is "the rat rules." But he got chased by Brooks and Elwin, which is Templeton's rival, but in the end he got chubby by eating all of the food. The other characters like Samuel, Bitsy, Betsy, Gussie, Golly, Ike, Brooks and Elwin was not given the names in the 1973 animated film. But Avery Arable, Phyllis Arable, John Arable, Homer Zuckerman, Edith Zuckerman, Lurvy, Henry Fussy and Uncle was also given the name from the 1973 version. The Australian extras in the county fair scene were instructed to produce sounds for the microphones to capture, to imitate authentic fairgoers. After one take with their natural accents, they were reminded to sound American. Most quickly responded by repeating, "Oh my God," and other current American phrases. Most of the shooting took place in Victoria, Australia. As it wasn't the right season in Melbourne for the county fair scenes, the crew carefully spray-painted nearby trees with non-toxic orange and yellow hues to evoke the feeling of autumn. To ensure extras wouldn't suffer motion sickness on the rides, the art department grafted bodies from polystyrene and even cast faces from their own features, attaching them to the dummies. These replicas were then painted, dressed, and securely placed into the rides, which ran flawlessly for about a week without any motion sickness. Remarkably, each of the approximately 5 unique faces was duplicated across all 60 dummies, creating a convincing, consistent look throughout the scenes. The spider introduces herself as Charlotte A. Cavatica, which refers to the barn spider's scientific name, Aranus cavaticus. The old scientific name was feminine, Arania cavatica. There were 47 Wilburs on set because the piglets grew up so quickly. Additionally, each one was taught only one trick, such as to stare up or to walk a certain distance. The names of the two crows, Elwin and Brooks, is a reference to author E.B. White, whose full name was Elwin Brooks White. For security reasons, early prints of the film were shipped under the title Bacon. Gussie and Golly the geese in the film were mainly represented by animatronic rod puppets built by Sam Winson Studios, featuring various wings, feet, and body inserts. When filming with real geese, they had to be shot in separate passes using a motion control rig, then composited with footage of other animals. According to VFX supervisor John Burton, geese attack sheep. According to the 2007 DVD director's commentary, Templeton's feasting at the fair sequence was expanded after a test audience missed the Sherman Brothers song, a veritable smorgasbord, they remembered from 1973 version of Charlotte's Web. The movie tie-in cover for E.B. White's original novel depicted Dakota Fanning reenacting the pose of Fern holding Wilbur, and observing Charlotte, who is hanging from a web around the title, as illustrated by Garth Williams on the novel's iconic cover art. In addition to wearing identical clothing and having her hair styled in the same manner, the goose and sheep from the artwork are also positioned precisely the same. A comparable recreation was also executed in the 1990s for home media releases of the 1973 version. Although the film does not specifically state the year, a scene shows an October calendar on the wall that begins on a Saturday. The year is hidden. This follows a scene where a scrap of paper displays the year 1971 out of context. If these clues are intentional rather than mistakes, and considering the film's overall tone, it is reasonable to infer that the film is set in 1977. Major shooting was completed in May 2006. It was filmed on location in Bacchus Marsh, Victoria and suburbs in Melbourne, Australia. The fair scene in the story was filmed in Heidelberg in Melbourne, Australia at Heidelberg West Football Club's football ground. This is Paramount Pictures' first theatrical film to be rated G by the Motion Picture Association since Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius from 2001. Fern and her family initially planned to have a pet dog named Susie, who appeared in 2 deleted scenes. However, the filmmakers decided against including a pet dog that might be jealous of Wilbur, the pet pig. As a result, Susie was removed from the final version of the film. Jim Carrey, Danny DeVito, David Tennant and Bradley Cooper were all considered for the role of Samuel the sheep, but they chose John Cleese who voiced Samuel. Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, Bill Nighy, Jeff Daniels, Anthony Hopkins and John Malkovich were all considered for the role of Templeton the Rat. but they chose Steve Buscemi to voice Templeton. Dustin Hoffman, Harrison Ford, Mel Brooks, Alec Baldwin and Michael Keaton were all considered for the role of Ike the Horse, but they chose Robert Redford to voice Tyke. Christopher Lloyd and Michael Douglas were all considered for the role of Brooks the Crow, but they chose Thomas Hayden Church to voice Brooks. Bob Hoskins, Ben Affleck, Christopher Lee and Terrence Stamp were all considered for the role of Elwyn the Crow, but they chose Andre Benjamin to voice Elwyn. Time for me and my pet spider to say goodbye and see you all in the next review. Web you later.
Itsy bitsy